I'm just heading home from the grocery store, so I said I was going to be on at 1, and I'm a few minutes late. So let me know if you can hear me okay. Hope everyone is doing well. Yeah. What are you doing? People drive so ridiculous nowadays. It's like nobody is ever paying attention. I blame that on a few things. Apparently the volume is connected to my car, so just let me know if you can hear me okay. Okay. So I wish everybody could bike everywhere. It would really help the high carb movement, because you got to put fuel in your tank to go places. Okay, so I think that people have bought into this low sugar thing, and it is making people dumber. That and too much caffeine, not enough sugar, opting for experimental pharmaceuticals, that's never a good thing either. But let me know what you guys want to talk about today. I'll get to questions as soon as I get to my destination here. Thank you all for joining. Yeah, let me know if you can hear me okay too, okay? So I went to the gym today, and I'm not really an advocate for gym memberships, but my work. I get caught up on paperwork, emails, scheduling, one-on-one calls, working on the ebook. I'm actually pretty close to at least having the draft done. So final copy, I'm gonna say I definitely want to have out before my kids get done with school, which is at the beginning of June. So that gives me just a little bit more time to put it together. But I am finally almost fully recovered from this sinus infection, which was absolutely horrendous. But I stuck it out because I didn't want to have to take pharmaceuticals. I know, unfortunately, even though they work for whatever it is you need them for, for most cases, it comes at a cost to your body. So, your body should be able to do the job of getting rid of whatever it is you have going on, and if it can't, then you gotta opt for what you gotta do. You gotta do what you gotta do. But the flip side of that is that your body, after opting for that, is going to be weaker than it was prior. So then you have a lot of building up to do. So I opted for intravenous antibiotics when I delivered my son, because I tested positive for GBS, and I just didn't want to play Russian roulette. And I feel like because I did that, my body has had a harder time dealing with infections and things like that, or just not infections, but yeah, sinus infection and just getting sick in general. So finally, I'm over the hill, and my eyes almost fully open again. It was awful though. I can't believe how long that lasted, because it's I initially got sick in mid-February, and we're almost in mid-April, so 2 months. And I did run, a lot of people have been sick recently though, with really bad colds and flus and sinus infections. I think winter has a lot to do with that, but there's just weird stuff going around. Anyways, I showered at the gym because my house is out of hot water right now, and it's first world problems, just making me very aware of how much I depend on everything. And then I just went to the grocery store, and prices, I spent $100 on, mostly high carb, low fat foods. I'd say actually predominantly, except for my daughter requested some Daya ranch dressing. She really likes to dip her veggies and eat her salads with it, so I got it for her. But it is vegan ranch. Okay, I am ready to answer questions. Thanks for listening. Okay. Oh yeah, and then going to the gym too puts my son down for his nap. So then when I leave, I've got some work done, I'm more caught up, and he's ready for his nap. And then the car like puts him out. So it works out great. So then I can do things like this. Okay. Hello, hello. Okay, enjoying a banana smoothie right now. I went for a ride yesterday because of you and it was amazing. Yes. The bike life is so amazing. I am hoping that I can get out with my son in a little bit. Once he wakes up from his nap, I'll feed him lunch and then we'll go out for a bike ride. He actually requests it now. He loves it. But yeah, bike life is the best. Okay. Hi, volume is fine. Good to know. I want my body to be like yours, lean. You got to eat lean then. And I'm not even that lean. You know, I hear a lot like, why aren't you as lean as Freely? But I have had 3 pregnancies in the last 10 years, and after I quit breastfeeding, my hormones always shift, and then I am able to get leaner. But while I'm breastfeeding, I feel like my body is kind of fighting me with that. But either way, I'm able to be lean regardless, and that has everything to do with my diet being high carb, low fat, being insulin sensitive, use a glucose monitor or glucose meter, I'm sorry, or a CGM, a continuous glucose monitor, to check and see what your insulin function looks like via your blood glucose levels, and get on a bike, do some fitness. So I just want to show you guys too. This is my eye that was messed up from my sinus infection. This is my normal eye. And finally, you can't see much of a difference. I can still see a little bit here, but it's clearing out. No more goo coming out of my face. That was crazy. Okay, Sugar King. Hey, Victoria. And Tara's here too. Tara said she'll moderate for me, but I haven't added her as a moderator yet. Sorry, hun. I'm just coming back to life here. Last week was really rough for me. I don't know what happened. I went into like a waking, or no, like a up, like I'm awake, alert coma. Like my body just like shut down. All I want to do is eat and rest. And really that's because rest is like my weakest link. My limiting factor here is getting enough rest. So I spent the weekend just like sitting on the couch, like watching movies, which I never do, and eating, and I feel like that helped a lot. So if you are dealing with, you know, fatigue issues, listen to your body and get that rest in, because really the trifecta here, or the foundational pyramid for this lifestyle, is sleep, water, sugar. Your body needs those 3 things so then it can have more energy to be more active. Okay. Devin asks how to get a booty on high carb vegan diet. More squats. Yes, more squats. I also did a butt workout today at the gym. It was one of Caroline Deisler's. I do not subscribe to her dietary advice whatsoever, even though it is vegan and relatively high carb. She has this like anti sugar message, even though she uses coconut sugar and dates. Just very confusing for anybody who's new. And clearly she doesn't understand human metabolism. I mean, I think she gets it, but she subscribes to like orthorexic modalities is what I'll call it. But anyway, she has some good workouts, which I like, that are, you know, they're low impact and they're effective. But I did one of her booty workouts. I don't have like a membership to her thing, her reset. I just use her free stuff on YouTube. I also like Boho Beautiful's Pilates workouts and yoga workouts. Those are free on YouTube. I'm also a big fan of GCN if you do indoor cycling. And you need some like motivation to use their cycling workouts. So those are my 3 main like YouTube fitness videos that I watch. It's Boho Beautiful, or use GCN, and Caroline Deisler. Okay, I missed one here. Life lessons with Alana. Can you talk about fatty liver disease? Many say that high fruit diet causes it. No. What precedes fatty liver disease is insulin resistance. So you want to focus on insulin sensitivity. Okay, so that will include eating sufficient amounts of fruit, sugar, and starch. If you eat a fruitarian diet and you undereat, then your chances of developing fatty liver are going to be higher. So when you are undereating or not taking enough carbs and or taking too much fat, this is the recipe for insulin resistance. This is what tells the liver to produce more fats in the form of triglycerides, okay? So we don't want that signal to go to the liver. We don't want to trigger de novo lipogenesis, so we have to start at the root, and that is insulin function. We want insulin to be working properly to downregulate de novo lipogenesis, to downregulate triglyceride formation, and to prevent fatty liver disease. Great question. Okay, to the booty question, Tara recommends hip thrusts. I think anything where you're like squeezing your butt is good. I like to hit it from all angles, and I only train my glutes probably twice a week. I do some on my rebounder too. That's the other thing. I watch I Jump Instead rebounder workout videos. I find those to be really good too. You can train your butt on a rebounder doing squat bounce, jamba walk, and then doing like some isometrics as well. I have a little bit of a booty, but not like a very super developed one because I don't like extensively train my butt. I'm really just looking for strength and stability and flexibility in my glutes and my hip area to better perform in cycling and in running. Cycling also really trains the glutes well, particularly when you're going uphill. Okay. Yeah, and Sugar Eyes 86, which is Tara, hey girl, says that squats can easily be taken over by quads. Yeah, so it's all about angles. If you stick your booty out more, I wish I could demonstrate right now, but actually watch some I Jump Instead videos, especially their lower body workouts, because they talk about how you can hit the glutes at different angles in a squat position. So if you like tilt your pelvis out, kind of like a twerk, then it's going to hit the underside of the glutes more, where the hamstring meets the glutes versus the quads. And then if you have your pelvis tucked under, it's going to work the quads more. But yeah, just play around with it. That's why I love the rebounder and doing the I Jump Instead workouts, is because it is very low impact, fun, and you can train all different parts of your body. I really like the upper body workouts because I tend to get injured with upper body stuff because I'm hypermobile, so I like to train on the rebounder, and then I like to do like Pilates. Okay, somebody says, what city is this? Wouldn't you like to know? Hello, are you from Great Britain? No, I have an American accent. I am not from Great Britain, but I am mostly Western European in my genealogy, with my ancestors coming from Germany, Netherlands, and Scotland. Somebody's asking what my name is. Victoria, with Nutrition by Victoria. I have a Master's of Science degree in Human Nutrition, and I specialize in helping you to build a high-functioning metabolism. I'm a nutritionist by trade. I am qualified to be a certified clinical nutritionist, but I do not have my certification right now. So I do nutrition coaching. But I can read labs and all of that if you want to work with me one-on-one. Link to sign up is in the description of this live when it's uploaded. And also, you can visit my website, nutritionbyvictoria.com. Katerina! What's up, girl? How much water and how much sugar do you use in your home OGTT, or glucose tolerance test? Is it best to use dextrose, glucose, or is sugar okay enough? They use dextrose, 75 grams of dextrose in 10 ounces of water for the oral glucose tolerance test in the clinical setting. They use dextrose because it doesn't contain any fructose, so it means that it's going to require more insulin because fructose doesn't require insulin, and sugar is like 50-50 fructose and glucose. But with that said, you can just use sugar as well. The most important part is that you are showing normal blood glucose levels with your test. So do the fasting, see what your fasting is, do your postprandial, do the at-home oral glucose tolerance test, see what your numbers look like after fruit meals, after starch meals. You just want to make sure everything's in normal range, okay? And if it's not, come talk to me and we'll see what's going on. What are your thoughts on kombucha? Gross. I used to be into the whole kombucha vibe, and at one point I found like this really tasty kombucha that had chia seeds in it, and it was a cherry flavor, and it tasted like a cherry slushie. And but the other kombuchas is just like, I quit drinking alcohol because it hurt my stomach, and kombucha does the same thing, like, and it's supposed to like heal your gut, right? No, just drink sugar water instead. Like, you don't need to buy into this whole like fermented foods and drinks thing, especially if you don't like it. Okay. What should glucose be 1 hour after meals? I think under 180, but 2 hours after meals is like the gold standard. So sometimes 1 hour after meals doesn't mean that you're like completely done digesting it and that it's on like the decline, right? So this is why they test for after 2 hours, because it generally means that your blood glucose went up, insulin got released, and now it's coming back down. And you've already like digested the food for the most part. But at 2 hours, you want it to be 140 or under. And then going down, so insulin already came in and did its job. Oh, Tara says, girl, you're lean. Thank you. I feel good. That's all that matters to me. My body's just like, right now, eat. Like, I'm going through some like hyperphagia, reestablishing my metabolic rate, because I am recovering from illness. And from what I've read, that when you are recovering from illness, even though the whole time I was battling the sinus infection, I was making sure to eat enough carbs every day, that sometimes you need more to really boost your system. And this is why I made the video I did yesterday about overeating on carbohydrates, because it's virtually impossible. You have mechanisms in place that prevent you from just continuing to eat, and carbohydrates signal leptin and ghrelin to be within normal range, so they're going to regulate your appetite. So basically, you're going to eat when you're hungry, your appetite's going to turn off, then you're going to be satisfied, and then it's going to turn back on when you need more glucose. So that's really what your appetite regulating hormones are supposed to do, is signal you when you need more fuel. So you just have to honor that. Sometimes that signaling is off, but if you don't honor it, that's when you start running into metabolic trouble, okay? All right. Daniel Lition Man. Okay. I'm eating under 10 grams of fat daily. Unfortunately, haven't lost any weight, but haven't gained anything, so that's good. What do you think? More cardio? Being at a plateau is ideal because it generally means that you are finding metabolic rebalance, and that your insulin sensitivity is increasing. Um, so now it's just a matter of continuing to do what you're doing and be consistent with your diet. Eat sufficient carbohydrates, keep that fat low. You know, this is where people get frustrated and they give up and they go and binge out on, you know, KFC and burgers and Pizza Hut and all this junk because they're like, oh, it didn't happen fast enough for me. This is the stage that you want to be in, because then you're going to see like, oh, 5 pound drop. And that's going to be because your hormones rebalanced, and your insulin sensitivity improves. So yes, more cardio and eat sufficient carbs always. Honor your appetite. Keep that fat low. Be consistent. Consistency and patience are the virtues of this diet and lifestyle. That's what's going to get you to the results that you desire and what's going to maintain those results for you effortlessly. All right, Simply Satisfied says, could you be my dietitian nutritionist? Absolutely. If you need my help, go to nutritionbyvictoria.com under the coaching tab and sign up for one of my services. Okay. Amal says, will you marry me? Taken, buddy. And I'm not trying to go live in Alaska either. Actually, my husband, he could work in Alaska. I don't know if I've shared on here before, but he does power line construction. And we have traveled all over the United States. My first daughter was born in Arizona. Now we are back where we both grew up to raise our children, and then we're probably going to get back on the road again. We really like to travel and explore, and I know at some point I'm going to end up visiting Alaska. One of my girlfriends that I grew up with and was BFFs with in high school is regularly going to Alaska for work, and she lives in Colorado now, but I just think it's so cool. I've heard that Alaskan cruises are really awesome to go in the summer, but yeah. Okay. Tara says, you do so much. Being a mom is full-time job plus running a business for sure. I think that that's what happened, is that I started going full throttle with Nutrition by Victoria and being consistent with it, and it is paying off. I really appreciate your guys' support because my channel is finally growing, my business is growing, and it's all because of you guys and me being consistent. But taking on that task really has, anytime you dedicate yourself to something that requires work, you know, fitness, health, school, a job, whatever it is, you have to have more carbohydrate to give you the energy to do all of it. And I was getting asked these questions like, what about, you know, whole foods? What about low calorie density? What about raw vegan? And like the funniest thing about it is that I tried all of it, and none of it was able to support me being able to do what I'm able to do now, which is manage a household, 3 children, a business, and be working on my own fitness in the process. So it's a lot to take on, and it is all fueled by carbohydrate. Okay, True Blessings 86. Not trolling. I'm literally wondering because I'm trying to get back in shape. I hear a lot of good things about kombucha. Drink sugar water instead. Kombucha is just a gimmick, okay? Drink it if you like it, but it's not doing you any favors. Honestly, too, get your favorite juice, fruit juice, or whatever, lemonade. I really like, passion fruit cocktail is delicious too. And add sugar to it. I like to put some ice over it, stir it with a straw, and that, you'll never think about kombucha again. Okay. Soul Reaper says you should probably get off and go be a mother. Well, I'm always on being a mom, okay? I get about 1 hour, maybe 2 a day, where my son is sleeping, which he's doing right now. So I'm on here, and that's when I work. And then I work when I go to the gym. And then I would like to start getting up earlier in the morning when my husband gets up at 5:30, but that requires me to go to bed a little bit earlier. Right now, my goal is to just be in bed, phone off, ready to go to sleep before 10. I was like going to sleep after 10 because there's just always so much to do, and I just had to tell myself, okay, just turn everything off and go to bed. And then eventually, when you get better rested, you can start getting up earlier and doing things. So, right now, I'm really prioritizing being in bed from 10 p.m. or earlier, ideally, to 7 a.m. and not doing anything until my health is like 100% again, and I feel like I have the energy to do more. And it's getting there, but I have to be really careful. Like last week, my middle child got sick with some kind of very quick stomach bug, but it was intense, and I was up in the night with her all night and it just like wrecked me for the rest of the week, I think is what happened. So I'm very sensitive right now to not getting enough rest and being sleep deprived because, you know, having a very young child, the whole first year is just like sleep deprivation. And so I'm trying to like recover from that, and then all these other little things that kind of like set me back, having the sinus infection, kids being sick, having all this stuff to do. Anyways, I know that in order to move forward, I have to prioritize resting. Otherwise, I'm just going to keep digging my hole deeper. Anyways. But yeah, I appreciate your concern for my children. My other 2 children go to school during the day. And so my hours of nutrition coaching are after they go to school in the morning until they get home from school. And I know that those hours don't always work for everybody, but that is my availability right now. Okay, Arisha says, I've done all the research and it should have been common sense, only fat can make you fat. Yep, they have done studies on only carb and only fat diets. Only fat can make you fat. My question is if you eat... They didn't finish their question. But yeah, fat gets just stored as fat by default, and then it will be utilized for energy production in the instance where there's carbohydrate sufficiency. Okay, so fat burns in the flame of carbohydrate. If we're decreasing the metabolic rate because there's insufficient carbs and there's some fat coming in, or just like these high fat keto diets, the metabolic rate's still slow. You are going to be burning fat, but it's at a very slow rate in comparison to what you're able to do when you are eating carbohydrate. So that's something that a lot of people don't understand. And then it takes a lot of time to burn fat. Most of what people lose when they're losing weight quickly is water. Fat loss really requires insulin sensitivity. Okay. Sleep, water, sugar, but what about breathing air? Do you do any breathing exercises or pranayama yoga? Yeah, when I'm doing my 5K time trial, I'm breathing pretty good. Okay. The older I get, the less I tend to sleep. I used to sleep 10 hours, now is only about 7. If you only need 7 hours of sleep and you can function at a high level, then that's awesome. But it also probably means you don't have too much stress in your life and that you need to recover from. So, you know, I generally recommend that people get 8 hours of sleep and you get to bed before 10 because that supports human growth hormone secretion. Tamara says Bailey Brown's workouts are great too, but not her diet advice. That's the case with most people. They're very confused about nutrition. They're just following somebody else's like dogma, and they have a fundamental misunderstanding of how the human metabolism works. And that's why I'm here to help you guys understand how the human metabolism works via my coaching program. So if you haven't got a copy of that, go to my website, nutritionbyvictoria.com, to get yourself a copy, because it's the only information that you'll ever need for the rest of your life in regards to nutrition and knowing how the body works and what to eat. If you eat 4,000 calories of pure carb diet and are sedentary, can you even put on fat? Is it even possible? Now, if your appetite is calling for 4,000 calories a day and you're sedentary, you need it. Okay? They have shown minimal or negligible, really, fat creation when people are force-fed carbohydrate, but force feeding is very different from eating for your appetite, okay? A lot of the people who are concerned about overeating on a high carb diet are the ones who have an appetite for the amount of food that they desire. So they're like, oh, can I really eat this much? Like, I want to eat this much, but I'm worried about overeating. That's very different from force feeding. Force feeding would be like you're eating for your appetite every day, 4,000 calories, and then you're adding another 4,000 calories on top of that because you're being force fed that food, okay? And even in those cases, the fat gain on carbs is negligible, and it takes months and months for it to even form. So that just gives you an idea of how carbohydrates really improve insulin sensitivity, because it's insulin resistance that drives de novo lipogenesis. So you're going to see the most fat creation from carbohydrate when somebody's coming from a carbohydrate deprived or starved situation. Low carb, keto, calorie restriction, okay? This is why I was able to put on 60 pounds of, fat and fluid after coming to this high carb, low fat diet from calorie restriction, fasting, intermittent fasting, low carb diet, because my body was programmed for fat storage. When you are consistently eating sufficient carbohydrate every day, de novo lipogenesis is turned off. It's down regulated. So you're not able to, turn those carbs into fat. You need insulin resistance to be present. So if you're eating the carbs, it's actually going to make you insulin sensitive. Hope that makes sense. Will this work to prevent gestational diabetes? Yes. The only time I ever failed a glucose tolerance test for gestational diabetes, because they test everybody in your third trimester, at the beginning of your third trimester, was when I was pregnant with my first child. And I was eating high carb, low fat, but I had come from doing like a raw diet prior, and I'm not sure I was eating enough calories. I was eating carbohydrate at the time. I didn't come from like full blown like intermittent fasting, all that shit. But sorry, I actually said a swear word there. But what am I saying? I also, before I took the test, had like eaten a Domino's vegan pizza with no, what I thought was, no oil, but there was oil in the crust. And then I had eaten a few other things that I think may have had oil in them. And then I had the test, and it came in at 155, my 2 hour, I believe, and you're supposed to be at 140 or less, right? So then I had to repeat and like a whole big ordeal, and then I passed that one because I got real strict with my fat intake and just keeping my diet super high carb, super low fat, and that was a non-issue. And then I never had an issue since. So You just have to really make sure that the fats are out of your diet, okay? Let's see what time it is. Well, it looks like I can remove comments here too. JC says, why am I out of breath and hard heartbeat after having a ton of sugar water this morning? 3 cups cane sugar and 64 ounces of water. Woo! It's been 4 hours and I feel fine now. Maybe you drank it too fast. Maybe you're dehydrated prior. I always recommend drinking water before drinking your sugar water, and then maybe you need some water after. I think you probably drank too much too fast, though. I get that with watermelon sometimes. Any word on why some get high triglycerides from sugarcane? Yeah, it generally indicates that there's some insulin resistance there that somebody is working through. So my triglycerides on my last test that I had done in September actually came back high. It was 250. And what I'll say though is that I was not being as consistent with my carbohydrate intake as I am now. I think I had just started like increasing my sugar intake, so it was probably just exposing a bit of insulin resistance there. The other theory too is that so your liver is going to make triglycerides when it senses that you're in some kind of like famine situation. So they test this when you're fasting. So your liver is going to be pumping out more triglycerides when you're fasting if you've run out of glycogen. So that's just something to keep in mind. So Harley has always said that his triglycerides have come in normal, and he said that Freely's came back high a few times. I know Pauline with sweet fruitness or Douce Fruit Latte said that her triglycerides have come back high before. I really think it's a non-issue. My doctor said it wasn't an issue because the rest of my lipid panel came back normal because they test it with like your cholesterol. So my LDL and total cholesterol were fine, but I would think that it has to do with a little bit of insulin resistance. And then there's the whole concept of, are those triglycerides being created or are they coming out of storage to be converted into energy? So that was the other kind of theory at play there. Anyways, good question. Why is my knee pain worse on high sugar? Because you need to cut the fat out of your diet and increase your insulin sensitivity. So what it's doing is exposing inflammation that is there from your previous diet and lifestyle. I don't have any issues, and I'm a highly active person. I run every other day. I was playing basketball. No joint pain, nothing like that. Sugar is actually like anti-inflammatory. It's pH neutral. So you gotta address like the other things in your diet. But like I said, it'll expose inflammation from other things that you're doing, from insulin resistance predominantly. Okay. Your thoughts on Lou Corona doing higher fat vegan? Yeah, he has insulin resistance. He's probably doing some other weird things too, but I don't understand how you justify doing raw vegan with high fat, because you're not going to find a lot of like naturally occurring fatty plant foods in nature. It's just weird to me. And then you have to like do all this processing. It's like, is it really even raw vegan still at the end? Like, I don't think so. Okay. Body weight exercises like one-legged glute bridges are awesome too. Not as easy as you would think. Yes, Tara, I did those today. They're really good because you are stimulating both glutes at the same time, but then isolating specific areas. And yeah, super effective. Okay. How to get big calves, please suggest some home exercises. Calf raises. Calves are also very genetic too. Okay. Katerina says, my fasting was 90 last time I checked. Good. My fasting this morning was 89. And the day before it was 94, and I was just like, what the heck? And I've said this in videos that your fasting reflects how much you ate the day before and how much you did. So by eating more carbohydrate and giving yourself more glycogen to work with overnight, it'll lower your fasting glucose. Okay, will the high carb, low protein, and low fat diet that you promote help me continue to gain muscle while leaning up? Yes. Make sure you're eating sufficient protein, which for male is 56 grams a day, female 46 grams a day, but you don't need to eat any more than that. Protein does have an anabolic effect, so it can enhance muscle growth, but you want to make sure it's coming from plant sources so you're not stimulating IGF-1. And carbohydrates are muscle protective as well. So muscles require glycogen, and they also require, well, your body requires sufficient carbs so that it won't catabolize muscle tissue for energy production. How many grams of carbs do you eat on average? I would say my calorie intake right now is probably about 3,500 to 4,000 a day. So grams of carbs, that looks like 800 to 1,000. So probably 800 to 900 because it's probably like 100 calories coming from protein and fat a day. Probably less than that, actually. But you get the idea. I'd say 800 to 1,000 grams of carbs a day. As a high-carb vegan, do you ever eat avocados? No, and I think they're gross, too. My husband calls them the mayonnaise fruit. They're just slimy and, like, tasteless, in my opinion. Okay, but if you're going to eat fats, that's probably one of the healthiest options to consume. This says Phil Whiteley. Phil Whiteley, what's up? Started high carb, low fat, October of last year, lost 14 kilograms so far. Would like to lose another 20 kilograms. Does mucus get less with this lifestyle over time? Yes. Fruit and sugar help to get rid of mucus, but it also depends on your immune function as well. I mean, in regards to fat loss, though, you're just talking about keeping the diet low fat and continuing to improve insulin sensitivity by becoming more active. That will help. Jessica, how do you know if you're insulin sensitive? Use a at-home glucose meter to see what your blood sugar levels look like, and you want them to be in range. So fasting 70 to 99, and then postprandial 2-hour postprandial is 140 or less. Okay. If you're worried about the gestational diabetes test, you can do like an at-home version of that. They use the 50-gram solution for the gestational diabetes test. So 50 grams of sugar, which is about, I think it's a quarter cup, in 10 ounces of water. And then, but you can also eat with that test. So it's not a fasted test. So you can eat something, have this like sugar drink with it, and then test your 2-hour postprandial and see what it looks like. Natasha Marie, hello. How long does it take to fix your metabolism if you've come from a lot of fasting and high fat? It depends on a lot of factors. Your age, genetics, how fit you are, how dedicated you can be to the lifestyle. So, if you have a high stress life, then you're gonna just have to be really militant about everything. So, I would say, oh no, I flipped my camera. Here we go. Anyways, so, for me, it took like 2 years, 1.5 to 2 years, and I beat myself up pretty bad. I had pretty extensive metabolic damage. So what I can say though is I, exhausted my options with everything else, and I just knew that like it didn't matter how long it was going to take. I just needed to do the work because nothing else worked. So, yeah, just start today. Phil Whiteley says, enjoying the channel, new subscriber. Yay, thank you. Okay. Karina Fuentes. Hi, I'm more than a month in and sometimes I battle with sleeping. I'm not taking any stimulants. You think it's bad if I take any prescription anxiety med to sleep? Like half a pill. I eat 4K plus carbs. I think I'd like to work with you to see what's going on. So join my coaching group or book a one-on-one with me at nutritionbyvictoria.com. Ken Altman says, you need a dietitian. I can be a nutritionist right now. There's literally no training and anyone can claim they are one. That is true. That's why I share my credentials, which is that I have a Master's of Science degree in Human Nutrition. I actually have more education than a dietitian. Dietitians learn, fats, carbs, protein, eggs are protein, peanut butter's fat, oil's fat, bread is a carb. I don't know how much training they get in metabolic science, but that's what I specialize in, okay, is learning how the metabolism works, and that's why I share what I do on here. But like, you can do some 6-week certification and call yourself a nutritionist after that, and most of those people, they learn really basic nutrition stuff. Again, it's usually like some kind of orthorexic school of thought on the subject. But yeah, so that's why I share my credentials, and I don't necessarily call myself a nutritionist, even though I am. But the world of nutrition, whether it's conventional or social media, is just full of people sharing misinformation. So I'm here to share the truth about metabolic science. Okay. You are so welcome, everybody. Just saying that Michelle Barton says, I love your comment. Thank you. Or I love your content. Thank you so much. You're so welcome. That's what I'm here for. Also, I might be doing a debate with Bart K, which is really exciting because I know I'm going to school him and he's just going to be like, what you know is fallacy and just constructs. Anyways, I think it'll be entertaining for the viewers. Tank's family, what advice, encouragement would you give to an overweight, insulin-resistant, postpartum, high-fat carnivore mom thinking of switching to high-carb, low-fat, vegan, asking for a friend? Do it ASAP, okay? The reason you are overweight, insulin-resistant is because of this carnivore diet. The carnivore diet is about to phase itself out because all those influencers are realizing that their blood sugar is out of control. They're insulin resistant, and they all have so they have insulin resistance, prediabetes or type 2 diabetes, and they also all have elevated lipid profiles. So high LDL, high cholesterol, high ApoB, high lipoprotein A, like all risk factors for heart disease. Okay, I'm going to be wrapping this up soon too, about 10 more minutes. Okay, Katarina, what's up, girl? Same. Nothing compares to this diet in terms of energy and output. Absolutely. Give it a try if you haven't already. Do I eat any fat? Or is 0 grams of fat the goal? No. So I say 10 grams of fat a day because all food contains like trace amounts of fat, even your white rice. Not sugar though. Oh, looks like I got some people at my house. And fruit also contains trace fat. So I gotta go, guys. If I didn't get to you, I'm sorry. And stay tuned for the next live. Okay, bye.